You know that awful feeling that you get as a kid in elementary school that you're different or weird, that nobody else gets you and everybody's making fun of you behind your back? Me too. Unfortunately, in my case, it was absolutely true. From a young age, there were two truths that marked my path. First of all, that I was never going to be normal. Second of all, that I had a fiery passion to see every wrong righted that I perceived until the world was right and fair and just. So I literally will get a twitch if I don't try to solve something I perceive as a problem, which is very difficult in the bicentennial era in public schools in America when there is no diagnosis for autism. It was only my mother's terrier like determination that kept me from that special room in the dark place in the back of the elementary school. Much of my life was spent surviving my own perceived limitations and attempting to blend or fit into the best I could. Honestly, I can give you dozens of examples of times I tried to be normal and just couldn't do it, from the time that I told my third grade crush that he was stupendous. Note to self, not apparently a 9-year old vocabulary, nor understood by a 9-year old. My testimony being the fact that he kicked my butt immediately thereafter, or by the time the young girl immigrated from India and ended up in my fifth grade classroom, and I told her that her skin matched my shirt. Um, I was wearing my favorite shirt. It was a color that I was obsessed with. I was fixated on, and that was my attempt to tell her that I thought she was truly beautiful. But 20 years later, I got to find out, even forgetting the incident, that she thought I was a weirdo racist. So even when I tried to communicate what I meant, I couldn't, particularly when I was trying to say nice things. The only reason I pushed through this to have what seems to be a normal life was that I had a strong core group of weirdos at home. Please don't let anybody tell you that autism is not genetic. My life was surrounded by people who thought differently. And although they didn't get me, they understood that I had a deep seated need to understand the whys of the universe. My life is this chaotic tale of pursuit of answers to questions most of you would never even think to ask, because my mind works differently. Best example I can give you is I drive down a street and I pass somebody walking and they're carrying boxes and bundles and bags and they're falling apart and it's not working. I will spend the next hour to come up with the best balance geometrically for them to carry all of those things and not have a problem. But I will never be able to go tell them, because I never bothered to look at their face. I just look at the problem and try to solve it. So it was through this constant challenge to solve the world's problems that I actually began to garner some sense of success and belonging. My first job out of college was as a receptionist. And I was not what they thought they were getting as a receptionist. The girl who recommended me, who was leaving the job, was beautiful and bubbly and very socially alert. And then they got me. Fortunately for them, I was not what they had expected. And I say fortunately because about 2 weeks after I started to work there, I got a call into the front desk from one of our technicians, one of our best technicians, who was working on a system that had just been updated. And the code he was trying to put in, it didn't work. I called everybody in that building. I tried to get somebody on that line to help him, but nobody was available. They were in meetings. They were out of the office. Nobody could get on the phone with this guy. So luckily for us, I am a problem solver. So I said, well, I don't know a lot about programming, but my mom did get me a PC when I was 10, and I kind of programmed in BASIC a little because that was fun in our house. So let me open the manual and see if I can come up with something for you. At that point, I realized that this gentleman, who is so brilliant, was also illiterate. He could type in code, but he couldn't understand the manual to understand why the code what it was. So unfortunately, he needed help. And I could give that help. I could translate that for him. And after about 10 minutes, we solved the problem. And I was sitting pretty darn proud of myself until the vice president whipped around the corner of that office and looked at me and said, "Who do you think you are to have tried to do that?" And as I'm shoving all my crap into my purse, getting ready to walk out the door because I know that's where I'm headed, he goes, "Come with me." And he takes me back to his office and he sits me down. And instead of lecturing me, he said, "I need you to talk me through what just happened." And by the end of that conversation with him, I discovered a beautiful thing. He was a weirdo too. And he thought what I did was magnificent. He was perfectly tickled that I had tried to solve a problem. At that point, he encouraged me and got me to go back to school to figure out answers to questions that I would come up with. And for the next 20 years and 3 careers, I never stopped going to school, learning and asking those questions, which almost all my bosses loved, even as many of them took credit for my work, which I didn't stop them because I was socially awkward. I couldn't do those things that they did. I would get side eye from normal people. It wasn't until my late 40s that I hit a wall and realized that there was something wrong with the way that I had been functioning. You see, I was in the hospital and I was dying. And I had a doctor come to me and tell me that my organs were shutting down. It was most likely that I would die that day. And at that point, I realized that the reason I was so sick was I was busy ignoring all of my problems, not trying to solve anything for myself, and trying to do things for everybody outside of myself so that they would like me better, so that I would prove my value. And at that moment, I had an epiphany. And the epiphany was, screw it. There's no other way to say it other than that. I was weird, autistic, and there was nothing wrong with it. I was raising 2 boys at that time, still am, who are now men who think that their weirdness is spectacular. And that's because I knew that they were autistic. I knew they thought like me, and I thought they were amazing. The way their brains worked, it blew my mind. And I realized that the grace I'd given them enabled them to go to school and be as weird as they want, and people loved them. And they're going into careers and jobs, and people are trying to get them to go for them because they think differently. And I sat there thinking to myself about everything I had done at my jobs that was different, that now changed the way so many people did their jobs because of my ideas. And I decided I was done caring if people thought that I was strange or weird, because I am. And I'm going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and people are going to dislike me at times because I have no filter. I'm going to say what I think. I don't want to sound too hallmarky, but when I left that hospital, my entire mentality had changed dramatically. I didn't even appreciate how much. When I think of a solution, I'm going to go and research that solution. And when I come to the table with my solution to your problem that you don't even know you have, I'm going to have data to back why my solution is the right one. And when I implement it, I'm going to have a full plan already designed on how it should be implemented, because I can prove beyond a doubt that I'm right. And since every one of those reasons, I realized that I had this optimistic, rosy light, that every problem can be solved, that other people had been taking credit for, and it wasn't going to happen anymore. And in the past few years, I've moved from thinking of ideas for other people to use to running teams of people who implement the ideas that I have. And I'm damn good at it. So, what's the message here? What's the point of all of this talking about myself? Well, here it is, guys. Everybody's awkward. All of us in this world have something that is weird and different. And yes, I understand I have a diagnosed level of weirdness, but every single one of you has something out there that you hide or repress because you think it's weird and people will judge you for it. But the thing about it is, everything that you have that you think is weird is actually amazing and unique, and only you can do it. And I truly hope that you learn how to dance with your weirdness and celebrate what it brings to the table so that you have the opportunity to see people look at you in awe, wishing they could be weird like you. Thank you so much.